Hello, everyone. My name is Manolis Spinorilakis, the founder of Reality Crowd TV, and welcome to a presentation brought to you by Patch of Land, the Real Estate Monthly Crowdfunding episode number 3. And we have a wonderful show today with two great guests. As always, I'm going to introduce the co-host of the show, Douglas Cochran, the SVP of Acquisitions and Underwriting at Patch of Land. And Doug, can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, hi everybody. Again, my name is Doug Cochran. I'm Senior Vice President of Acquisitions and Underwriting for Patch of Land. We're a debt-based real estate crowdfunding company. And I have a diverse background in real estate. I started off as a flipper many years ago. I was a licensed real estate appraiser for many years, a loan officer as well, all up in the New England area. And also an underwriter and project manager on a construction site. So I bring pretty diverse background.
Wonderful, Doug. Thank you. It's a pleasure as always to co-host the show with you, and we look forward to hearing more soon. And then we also have a very special guest, a real estate developer out of Chicago. He's a real estate broker, trainer, and investor with Extreme Real Estate Investments. Please welcome Michael Kevorkian. And Michael, would you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, hi. Thank you guys for having me on today. I appreciate it. My name is Michael Kevorkian. I'm the broker and owner of New Market Realty and president of Extreme Real Estate Investors. We are a full-service real estate brokerage in Chicago. We focus mainly on investment properties and brokerage business on the north side of Chicago, northwest suburbs. And but we are all throughout the Chicago metropolitan, greater Chicago metropolitan area, I should say. And also we do a bit of training and working with investors, learning the business, as well as joint ventures and obviously working with great companies like Patch of Land.
Excellent, Michael. And again, we're very honored to have you join us. We'll be going over a specific deal that you actually did with Patch of Land later on in the show. So your experience both in the traditional real estate world and now your innovative approach to realizing that financing is available through Patch of Land and other real estate crowdfunding platforms is going to really educate the audience very well tonight. So thank you very much for joining us. Part of our program is really understanding what real estate crowdfunding is, and so what we historically believe is the best way to do that is to watch a short video on exactly what that is provided by Patch of Land. And so let me just share my screen so that the audience can understand better how real estate crowdfunding works through the Patch of Land platform.
Investing in real estate can often feel like a VIP club, where only a few are allowed entrance. Those in the know find the best deals and make back a huge ROI on their investments. It's no secret that real estate investment is one of the best ways to create passive income that really works, but only if you have real insider info. Plus, you often need to have a huge amount of capital to really get in on a good deal. Patch of Land is doing things differently. We're opening the doors to all accredited investors interested in real estate investments and pooling our money and resources to fund the best development deals with a low minimum commitment. This means a lowered risk for our investors because you can diversify into multiple deals. We've taken all the hard work out of real estate investing and automated the process. So even an accredited investor with relatively limited knowledge of real estate investment can use our service. It's as simple as looking through our portfolio of projects and finding the one that fits your needs, then signing the documents online. Our team of real estate professionals with 20+ years of experience goes to work for you, vetting developers and doing the work of due diligence and deal analysis. We believe in trust and transparency, so we put that documentation at your fingertips so you can review the deal terms, the project, the local market, and the developer. Our due diligence is yours to review anytime. So you can feel confident, as we do, that all the projects have been carefully curated and are the cream of the crop. With Patch of Land, you connect with hundreds of developers seeking capital for their projects. We're so confident in our project portfolio that we underwrite and co-invest in these deals to get you the best rates. Patch of Land issues short-term, high-interest rate loans to real estate developers secured by the underlying real estate asset and pass those rates on to you, with rates that are better than banks, bonds, and even equity markets in some circumstances. Watch your money grow 24/7 through our online dashboard. We keep everything transparent so you can see important data related to your investment. It takes as little as 10 minutes to start investing with us. Sign up today with Patch of Land and get in the know in real estate investment.
That was an excellent video, Doug. Did you happen to do that yourself?
I did not, no.
No, really a great video, and just so the audience knows, also there's multiple ways to ask
Hello,
questions.
my name is Manolis Kanarolakis, the founder and producer of Reality.
Sorry about that. Just so the audience knows, there's multiple ways that you can ask questions during the event. One of the ways that you can do that is using the Q&A application, which is done through the Google Hangouts. Or if you're watching through the Vicken community, the virtual incubator community, there is a chat room currently being held where questions will be answered in the future. So with that said, I'd actually like to dig deeper into Michael Kevorkian's experience. And Mike, can you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself? So you're based out of Chicago, but how did you get started in real estate? What were you doing before you started real estate? And kind of give us a little bit of a longer time frame of how you got from just beginning to where you are today.
Sure, no problem. I got started in real estate in 2001. Started as a real estate agent working for one of the big name companies out there. I thought that was going to be my ticket to, you know, fame and riches and everything else. I thought, you know, this was going to be a great thing for me. Learn how to be a real estate agent and make a ton of money. The reason I even did that, I was managing a restaurant in Chicago, downtown Chicago, for 4.5 years. I had a friend of mine that was an agent for this company, and she came along and said, hey, you know, you're good with people, you ought to get your real estate license. I said, well, I got nothing to lose, so why not? I'll give it a shot. I did it. 2 years came and went. I was working 2 full-time jobs, still managing the restaurant, and it took me 2 years to really get productive as a real estate salesperson. And you know, I stuck through it because I saw there were a lot of people in the office making money, but that I thought, you know, okay, I've got better people skills than them. I have a better presentation than them. The only thing I didn't understand was, I guess at that time the name of the game was lead generation. So without that key bit of information at that time, I was just kind of showing up at the office, asking anybody I could, what do I do? What does a new guy or gal in real estate do to get their business off the ground? So it did take me a couple of years, and I discovered the marketing aspect of it. And when I did that, my first investment really kind of landed in my lap by complete accident. At the time, I was marketing out to sellers. I had a very simple theory that I would only go after canceled and expired listings for 4 reasons. One, we know they want to sell their house. We know they didn't sell their house. We know they're willing to pay somebody to sell their house versus going after a for sale by owner. And they were the most likely candidate for, excuse me, for me to go in and say, okay, the reason, one of the reasons, but the main reason that they didn't sell was the price, because everything's got a price. If it's priced appropriately, it's going to go. So with those 4 key elements in my arsenal, I started marketing your home sold, guaranteed, or I would buy it. So that was like the answer to every canceled or expired listings prayers, right? I mean, okay, I had it on the market, it didn't sell. Well, hey, look, this guy's got something that if he doesn't sell it, he'll buy the property. Of course, that was met with a fair amount of skepticism, which was fairly easily dismantled over the phone if we were able to have a conversation. Anyway, I went to meet a lady, elderly woman. Her husband had died, but he had been dead for some years, and she was retiring now. So she said, look, I got your flyer in the mail. I tried to sell it, couldn't. But how about you just buy the property? So instead of me listing it and going through all of this, why don't you just buy it? I said, well, okay, I'd never even considered that that would be an option at the place I was in my life at that time. Definitely didn't have the funding to do it, the credit, none of it. But I had a lot of will, so I said, okay, yeah, no problem. Let me see what I can do. we put the deal together, and I was able to basically sell my contract to another investor. I met with her, I got the paperwork signed, and I made about $20,000 on that deal, just handing over a nice deal to another investor and make a profit. That was kind of the moment where I said, okay, what is it about this lady and her situation that makes her so different from everybody else? Because that's what I need to focus on. I need to find, instead of trying to find 5 sellers as a real estate agent, now I was shifting my focus to real estate investor, and I needed to find more people who were willing to say, look, I don't want top dollar for my property because of condition, because of my personal situation, whatever it is. I just want to sell it. And that was what really led me into researching different niche markets and doing joint ventures, working with hard money lenders, and just a whole world I had no idea about prior to me getting into that first deal.
That's amazing. So that first deal, and it sounds like a wholesale deal where you find a great property, you get it under contract, and then you assign the rights to that property to an investor who basically pays you a little bit of a fee for the right to actually close on that deal. Was that kind of your first deal?
Yeah, correct. And again, because the only reason I did it that way was because I just didn't have the resources available to me. I mean, if you asked me what is a hard money loan, I would have told you it's just cash and coins, because it's hard instead of soft like paper money, right? I mean, I didn't know. I had no idea what any of that terminology was whatsoever at that time. So as soon as that happened, I just started learning as much as I could about the investment side of the business.
Great, and I mean, I wanted to point that out because a lot of times, and we'll get into the real estate crowdfunding side in a moment, but a lot of times if a developer doesn't have a great experience right off the gate, and they try to get a loan from a crowdfunding platform or an equity deal from a crowdfunding platform, you have to have a bit of a track record. And so I'm going to ask Doug in a moment what he likes about you, which makes you a very good fit for Patch of Land. But when someone says they can't give you a loan or they can't give you an equity deal, you can come up with innovative ways to get in the game, like wholesaling initially or partnering with a more experienced developer. So let me actually bring that question to Doug and say, Doug, what do you like about Michael Kevorkian as a borrower? Like, what is the profile of an ideal borrower in your eyes?
Well, just looking at Michael's situation, he had experience. He's been in real estate since 2001, so he brought a lot of experience and a diverse amount of experience with him, which is what we're always looking for in a developer. When we're first, maybe a newer developer, we try to get people who have approximately 5 deals in the last 3 years. Is kind of like a little bit of a litmus test that we look for, or some kind of comparable experience. It just shows that they've been through the process. They know the ins and outs of the process. They've gone through a renovation. They might have tripped over a few things. Found everybody finds something when you start breaking down walls. So they've been through the process, and that's what we look for with our developers. If we find work with a developer maybe who doesn't have a lot of experience, we will encourage them to partner up with somebody who would be able to bring additional experience into the team, into the project, whether it's a contractor or a realtor, a more experienced developer, something like that. So that's what we look for with our developers, and of course, Michael had that in spades, so it was pretty easy to go forward with his experience.
Wonderful. And Michael, after that first deal that kind of got your feet wet, how many deals have you done since your first entrance into the investing world?
So all in all, we have, as a company, and me being that figurehead of the company, I can stake my claim to a little over 800 transactions in total. Actual investments that we solely have had control over is getting close to 300 now. We've broken the 250 mark We're in the 250s now, so we're getting up there, and I'm hoping that 2015 is going to see it. We had I'd mentioned to you a little earlier, we had quite the month this month, so that really pushed us over that threshold. So I'm pleased, and it's just looking back, mind you, it's been almost 15 years now, so the number sounds pretty large, and I think it is, again, looking back, but you know, when you break that down over the years, it's, you know, how many is that a year? It's 3, 4, 5 a month on average that we get, but it's consistent. You know, I mean, it's a business for us. It's not a hobby, and this is not something for people, in my opinion, humble opinion, if I may share it. This is not something that you know, necessarily should be looked at or treated as a hobby. I mean, this is a business. This is you know, housing. This is people's, you know, welfare when they buy a house from you and go to sleep at night, and you know, things have to be done right, and they have to be done consistently.
Absolutely, and that is by no means a small number. So you know, you're a humble guy, Michael, but congratulations. I mean, all that is amazing work, and other people would dream of doing that many transactions. So congratulations on your success.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yep, and so I guess Doug, just to kind of bring kind of the crowdfunding piece into this as well, from a lending parameter perspective, what are some of the lending parameters you look at? What is the process that you go through to underwrite a loan? Is there multiple things you look at when you're underwriting? Just kind of give the audience a little bit of a perspective of what the process is to receive a loan from Patch of Land.
Sure. One of the big things that we look at, and one of the first questions I ask our originators is, what's the exit strategy? Because our loans are short-term, they're typically 12 months. So we want our borrowers to come to the table with a strong exit strategy, whether it's that they're going to refi out and hold on to the property as a you know, cash flow property, or if they're going to flip it or reposition it in some way. We want to know what the exit strategy is. So that's one of the first questions. Then we also look at a number of different parameters, such as on a purchase, we want typically 20% down on a purchase. We look at the after renovated value. We want to see, you know, we'll typically get an appraisal, and we'll ask for an as-is value and a subject to value, and we're really going to keep an eye on the subject to value. I'm going to typically lend on that about 65, maybe 70% ARV on that, and we'll also lend, given the parameters, we'll also roll in 100% of the renovation costs. And we'll look at a loan to cost ratio as well, and we want that to be somewhere around 85%. So we'll look at those three parameters: LTV, ARV, and loan to cost, when we're looking at the overall picture of the property. And then as far as credit goes, we do look at credit, but we don't really focus too much on the credit scores themselves. We really look at the individual lines of credit that they have, and we think if you really look at the whole picture, it tells a story, and that's what we're looking for. We know most developers who have been into this into real estate for 15, 20, 30 years, they're going to have little dings here and there. We understand that. We don't want to discount a qualified borrower or experienced borrower because of that. So we're going to really look at the individual lines of credit, see how well they work with their credit. If they've had issues, it'll typically tell a story. You know, it might have happened back when you know, the real estate crashed in 07, 08, 9, 10, and then you'll typically see borrowers getting cleaner credit as the years go on. So we look at that, and we're okay with that. And the only hard points that we have on credit is we want everything to be clean in the last 2 years. No mortgage lates, no bankruptcies, foreclosures in the last 2 years, because that just shows us that even if you had some problem credit in the past, in the last 2 years you've really cleaned yourself up, you've gotten yourself on track, and again, as Michael even said, this is a business that you've taken your business seriously, and you're building on something, and we want to be a part of that. We want to help these developers who have been in it for the long term. We want to help support them and help grow their business. Michael's a perfect candidate for the type of borrower that we like, where he's always looking to grow, and we're here to support that growth.
Excellent. That was an excellent explanation, and it makes sense. I mean, not only do you want to support the borrowers who come to you like Michael, but you have to have these parameters in place to protect the investors, because no one wants a bad deal to invest in. And so we'll talk about the crowdfunding piece. Actually, we'll switch into that now. I just want to give a primer to the audience as well. The reason why real estate crowdfunding exists is because there was a law that was passed back in 2012, and that's the 2012 Jobs Act. And so because of the success of the other forms of crowdfunding, many of you may be familiar with Kickstarter or Indiegogo, whereby it's a donation in exchange for some sort of reward. Because of that success, the government actually passed a law that said, if it worked for that donation in exchange for reward model, can it work for equity or debt crowdfunding? And they determined yes, it can. And so with that law that was passed in 2012, that is how Patch of Land is now able to operate as an online real estate crowdfunding platform. And just to give people an indication of who can participate at present, from the investor perspective, if you wanted to invest in these type of deals, only individuals who are accredited investors can actually invest. So if you saw Michael's deal, which we're going to go over in a moment, if you saw his deal online, the only way you could invest in his deal is if you were an accredited investor. And that's an individual who makes $200,000 a year or is worth $1 million in net worth, excluding their personal residence. And the threshold is a little bit higher if you're a couple. So from that perspective, only accredited investors can invest. However, as a real estate developer or as a borrower or someone who's coming in to receive capital, you don't have to be wealthy. You don't have to meet that wealth threshold in order to bring a deal to a platform. And so although we're talking about real estate crowdfunding here, this new law that was passed applies to all businesses. So there's all types of businesses getting funded, even those that don't have to do with real estate. Patch of Land is only focused on real estate, but I wanted to give everyone just a broad overview on how this all came to be. Did I miss anything there, Doug? Is there anything else that I missed on that?
No, you're spot on.
Excellent.
Perfect.
So now, Michael, let me ask you, how did you hear about real estate crowdfunding? How did you decide to kind of get into real estate crowdfunding, and why did you choose Patch of Land?
All right, so the short version, it's a very long story, but the short version of that long story is I wound up I do podcasts myself, and I listen to some other podcasts, marketing related, other real estate investor info stuff. And anyway, one of the marketing people had mentioned one of your competitors, one of Patch of Land competitors, as far as in the crowdfunding space. I believe it was Indiegogo. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, I went to their website and checked it out. I think I even attempted to post a deal up there, or a proposal up there for people to invest in, and something didn't happen right for me. I don't know what it was. I mean, I got like no interest. Nobody really looked at the thing. So I said, okay, crowdfunding, and then I got a bunch of results in Google, and then I said real estate crowdfunding, and there was Patch of Land. So I went there, and I have to tell you three things regarding Patch of Land. One, ease of doing business as a borrower, as an investor. Very thorough with their process, and I really, that video that you showed when we started out, explaining Patch of Land, I think for the investor, not the hands-on real estate investor, but the person actually investing their funds with Patch of Land. I mean, there's really, in my opinion, I don't believe in zero risk, but this is the closest thing I've seen to zero risk investing for that investor who's putting $5,000 or $500,000 up with them, because I mean the process that that Doug and everybody there at Patch of Land puts me through to get a deal approved is beyond thorough. I mean, it's very methodical, very repetitive. You know, we've done 2 deals now, right? So I mean, this is you know, our round 2, and it's just now I'm getting used to it. But it was at first I was like, wow, you know, okay, this is an awful lot. But I was now the second deal. Okay, we go through it again. Great. It's not. It was a little bit of a shock to me, not in a bad way. It was just a lot of stuff I had to get together and say, okay, here you go, and we had it all. I mean, we just, you know, did it. I think we put the deal together, this last one, in, I want to say it was short of 3 weeks, but don't quote me again. You know, Doug might be able to answer that better. But I mean, from hey, I have a deal to funding, getting approval for the funding, it was like 2.5, 3 weeks. And they went through everything, as they said in the video, you know, cross the T's, dot the I's, and I mean, really look out for their end investor, as well as for me, the developer who needs the access to the capital to do the business. They've been the only one that's been responsive. I mean, I've attempted with a couple other crowdfunding platforms, but I really got nowhere until, again, Patch of Land. So, you know, thank you again, all of you. Doug, and appreciate
You're welcome, Michael. You're welcome. It was a pleasure working with you. If I can just elaborate on that, when it came down to you know, the first time we work with Michael, anytime we work with a developer for the first time, we do very thorough due diligence on background checks, credit reports, all that kind of stuff. So you know, we do that in order to kind of set up for the following deals, the second, the third, the fourth deal. So when Michael came around for a second deal, we already knew him. You know, he'd been paying on time. He'd been giving us updates on his property. It made it that much easier to say yes to the next deal. And he already knew, you know, what we were looking for as far as some updated documents, what kind of how to structure the deal ahead of time. So it really made it very easy to do it on the second time. It was really more about the asset than it was Michael. It was just getting the proper appraisal and setting up a closing date at that point. So yeah, I think that the second one, I think, took 2.5 weeks. It was really pretty quick, and we do that a lot. We close deals easily within 2 weeks. So and the nice part about that is our investors already knew Michael from his first project. They already knew they had invested in the first one. They're being paid regularly every month on that project. So when he posted up his second project, he already had a fan base. So it was kind of nice that his project was able to, you know, be welcomed on the site, and the investors already knew of Michael. So that was a no-brainer. It was an easy one.
And so that's interesting. Kind of 2 questions popped up while you were explaining that, Doug. How is it that you're able to close so quickly? I mean, you know, is what the investors see on your website, you know, is that what they're funding? Are they funding it within 2 weeks, or are you pre-funding the deals and then going to the investors after the fact?
We're pre-funding the deals. That's one of our main competitive advantages. Is although we're doing crowdfunding, we're not waiting for the crowd to come in and fund the deal. When we approve a deal and we say yes to a deal, we're willing to put our own money into the deal. So we pre-fund the deal so borrowers can get to the closing table. They can start renovating their properties and get to work on their properties. Once that's done, then we put the deal up on our site and have our investors then participate in the deal. So it doesn't affect our borrowers in any way. They can, you know, just get to work and do what they do best, and we take care of the rest. So the pre-funding mechanism that we have is, I think we're the only ones who do it, and it's been a massive help to our borrowers and a huge competitive advantage with that. So, and it's also telling our investors that we believe enough in the deal that we're willing to put our own money into the game, where most other crowdfunding sites don't do that. You know, any of our borrowers, if we're saying yes, we've done our due diligence. We're confident of the project, confident of the borrower. And if a deal doesn't get fully funded, then we'll keep our skin in the game. We're okay with that. We believe enough in projects that we post in our developers, and we've done the due diligence on the borrower and the asset itself. So thankfully, I guess all of our deals have filled up. We've done I think 85 or even more than that now, and all the deals fill up. So, but we're always willing to keep our money in the game.
That's excellent, and I know that in the relatively short time I've been in the industry, about a year and a half, I saw Petulant was the first in pre-funding, and then everybody started copying you guys. So you guys are the trendsetters for sure on that.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so great. So Michael, let's talk about your deal in Chicago, and the deal that I'm going to show the audience, and I'll share my screen. It's a deal that was done on Fletcher in Chicago. And was this your first or second deal, Michael?
Fletcher's our second deal together.
Great. And so what I'm showing the audience, and can you gentlemen see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, I can.
Perfect. So what I'm showing the audience right now is what an actual investment looks like if you were to actually get more details through the patchaland.com website. Once again, in order to see any deals within the Patchaland website, there is a process to actually sign up and verify that you are an accredited investor. You have to certify that indeed you do meet these criteria. But once you sign up and you set up your account and you verify, then you're able to actually see the deal details. So, Michael, I'm going to let you take it away and just kind of walk us through this property and tell us, a little bit about it. How did you come about it? How did you get it? And then talk about kind of the details of how it worked.
Sure, no problem. Just so you understand, the vast majority of the inventory that we do buy is direct with homeowner negotiations. So we do quite a bit of marketing. Touched on that a little earlier in my early days of my career as a real estate agent. Excuse me. So, that was one thing that really stuck with me. I would say near 70% of our inventory is direct with owner because we do the marketing campaign. They call us. We have our acquisitions people, that basically salespeople that field the calls, go on the appointments, submit the offers, and bring it back to the office for review. About 20% we buy at auction, and then the other, it's really less than 10% that we actually buy on the MLS, on the multiple listing service, because when everybody's looking there, there are very few deals to be found. Okay, it's public knowledge. Everyone knows it's out. You can't really get a tremendous discount on a property on the MLS. Auctions are tricky. You need cash. You need it all at once, and you really need to know what you're doing because if you don't, you might be buying yourself more of a problem than you realized. So the next best thing, and the bulk of our business, has always been direct mail. So we got in contact with the seller. He got a letter from us, or a postcard, whatever it was we sent him. Called back. We negotiated back and forth, and we actually had this property under contract at a higher price initially. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say it was around $175,000, but don't quote me on it. I wasn't overly crazy about it. I said, it was a good deal. It was still going to make us some pretty decent money, but we had bigger fish to fry at the time. So I kind of pushed it off and kept the contract in place, delayed the closing, and went back. He said, "Look, I got to move forward." I said, "Okay, fine, I can do it, but I'm going to have to ask you for a little bit of a discount in this." So he was able to drop the price to $150,000 in order for us to get the property. Now, the one interesting thing with this particular property, and what we are doing a lot of in Chicago, is what we call deconversions. So you have a 2-unit or a 3-unit building, and this property, I mean, the pictures, it shows the condition I bought it in was all gutted, but that particular property is a legal 2-unit building. So you could rehab it and leave it as a 2-unit and sell it, leave it as a 2-unit and rent it out, or what the highest and best use for the funding and that particular property and what that micro market needed was a single family home. So that's what we're actually developing it into. And I would say probably 65%, 75% maybe even of all the multi-units that we buy. So I'm talking 2 to 3 units that we buy, we do deconvert to single family. Just because the demand is there and where we market to, the demand is there for single family homes more than multi-unit, small multi-unit apartment rentals. Excuse me.
Very, very interesting. So, I mean, this obviously looks like a great deal. It's 59% of the appraised after repair value that you're actually purchasing and getting a loan for. So so from an investor perspective, they're actually funding a project that's secured by the property. Is that right? Was the loan secured by the actual property as collateral?
Yes, that is correct.
And so, you know, from an investor perspective, Doug, kind of talk about how they're protected in a deal like Michael's.
Sure. Well, again, Michael put, I believe it was 20% down. I don't remember exactly how much he put down on that. But again, as I said, we look at LTV, we look at ARV, we look at loan to cost, and again, this property, Michael's converting it into a single-family house. I believe he's even adding a floor to it. He's adding some square footage to it. So the after repair value of $587. He's borrowing less than 60% of that. So there's a lot of equity in the property. So there's safety there for the investors, and I think that's why it filled up as quickly as it did. And again, our investors knew Michael from his previous property, and so there's confidence in his abilities as well, as far as him being an experienced developer, things like that. So. Yeah, that's why it made it for an easy underwrite.
Excellent. And so here we even see a lot more details about exactly what the funds are going to be used for, what is going to be needed to kind of finish the property. So kind of continue, Michael, from the perspective of how this went down. What the investor is seeing right now is the actual property that's already been funded, but in the meantime you're going through and you're actually fixing up the property because you got a head start before the investors saw this. So tell us about how the actual rehabilitation went on this. How is the process actually going? Is it still currently being rehabbed?
So currently right now we've got I'm getting a lot of echoing. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Currently, right now, we have the permits have been issued on the property. We've got the excavation going on in the. This is a little bit tricky. I'll try to do my best to explain this. The footprint of the current house, the way it sits right now, and the lot dimensions and what we can build, what we're legally allowed to build. So the floor to air ratio that we can build is bigger than what the footprint allows right now. So what we're doing is two things. We have to excavate the basement down and out toward the backyard, toward the garage. All right, so we're taking the existing footing because you don't have the ceiling height in the basement. You got about 6.5 feet, but 7 foot 2 inches is legal in Chicago for finished basement. So I got to have clearance of 7.2 after drywall. And also, in order to maximize square footage, we got to push it back. I actually think I emailed you a copy of the plans we got from the architect of what the house is going to look like when it's done with the floor plan and everything. But so that house is actually going backwards, and as Doug mentioned, another floor up. We're doing a third-story master on the 3rd floor, and then out the back toward the backyard, out of that master bedroom. There's a big rooftop deck. And the reason we can't build the house all the way back is because, again, we're limited by the maximum allowable square footage that we can build on this size lot in the city of Chicago. So we're definitely taking it to its maximum capacity. Don't hold me to this, but I think we will break the $600,000 mark when we do sell it. I know we were in the 580s there on after repair value, but just again with what's going on in the neighborhood and what we're doing with that house, and I'm no speculator, believe me, I'm all about the facts of, hey, this is what it gets per square foot, but by adding that square footage, that livable square footage, it's a tremendous, just a tremendous add-on in after repair value.
Absolutely, Michael, and I was going to say that that deal again, the investor is so protected because the fact of the matter is it's worth much more when you finish your repairing than the actual collateral that is securing it. So it was definitely a great deal. One other question I guess I have for you is what about the process? Did you like in terms of the first go around? I know we just talked about your second project, but did you have any other experiences within the patch of land process for the underwriting that actually taught you something? Like did you learn from the experience of putting this deal together through the patch of land process of what investors are looking for and how to kind of position it?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I did definitely learned a lot. I have a very specific formula for how we will buy a property. Just like Doug mentioned, they have a very specific formula on how they qualify a borrower and a property and loan to values and everything. And so, I run my numbers basically on every single property that comes across my desk. I'll run the numbers, say, okay, here, this is what it is. Let's say it's typically my max buy price on a property is 70% of the after repair value minus the repair cost. Okay, that's the most I can pay. So to put that in the plainest of English, if a house is worth $100,000 when it's done after it's remodeled, I'm going to discount it by 30%. So I'm going to say it's $70,000, and then if it needs $30,000 worth of work, I subtract that, and the most I'm going to be able to pay for that house today in its as-is condition is $40,000. And I want to make sure you understand, I'm not saying I'm making a $40,000 offer on a $100,000 house. The condition the house is in today is not worth $100,000. It may be worth, 50, 45, 50, 55,000 in these small numbers we're talking about. But that's the basic formula, right? So I approach it with that in mind. Then bring it to patch of land. Usually, I think we're pretty good as far as what their expectations are, what mine are as a developer. I can't take chances. I mean, I owe them money, and then obviously all of their investors, and I don't want to do anybody a disservice by not hitting my mark. So I have to be able to calculate a fair profit for myself after holding costs, selling costs, and rehab costs, obviously, in addition to the purchase price of the property. So going through with patch of land, the first loan was a bit of a different experience for me, and not a bad one by any means. It was a very great learning experience, and I expected it all to kind of happen all over again. In again, that lengthy process and when I say lengthy, I'm talking about maybe 30 days, maybe 40 days. I don't really remember the exact time that it took to fund the very first loan. But then when I came back and I said, okay, here's loan number 2, it was like Doug said, I think 2 weeks, and that was it. Okay, done. They've done their work. I've submitted everything they needed, and they sent their appraiser out. He was out there, great. Everything made sense according to what I presented. They did their checking on their end, and as you were going through that long list of repairs needed on the property, I was just thinking how that is my absolute least favorite thing to do, which is to sit there and have to outline everything, because I know it in my head, but when you have to do that for every project, but you must, it's just an absolute necessity that I say, okay, hey, Doug, we're going in, and I'm loosely using this word partner, okay, as a deal. It's not really a partnership. I mean, we have a working relationship, but hey, I've done my part. They're doing their part, and together we're able to put something together and make something real nice out of it for everybody. Them, their investors, myself, the people that work for me. It's really a streamlined process. Like I said, the first one, it's like anything else. Get your first car loan, get your first mortgage on your house. but after you bought your second or third, you start to actually realize this is not so so scary or cumbersome for that matter. I mean, it's just it becomes much easier after the first one.
Absolutely, and so with that, Doug, actually, one of the things that you just mentioned, Michael, was the appraisal and the transparency. And so, Doug, what I'd like you to kind of talk about is, patch of land is fundamentally different from hard money lending in a number of ways, but probably the biggest way is the fact that it's transparent. So would you kind of like to share, like from an investor's perspective, the level of transparency that they get?
Sure. Yeah, that's a big word that we do use a lot here at Patch of Land is transparency, and we're even doing that with our borrowers. I mean, when they come to us and they don't know what crowdfunding is, or maybe they've heard about it, we tell them about it. We discuss what it is that we do, how we do it, how we're different. The process. There's no magic to this. There's no hidden curtain. We pull back the curtain, I guess, with lending, where we're upfront with our full due diligence that we do, what we're expecting our borrowers to provide to us, so that we can do all the work that we need to do. And with that, when it comes to our investors, we put it all on the site. If you look at the site and you look at the individual deals, you look at the Fletcher property, it really spells out everything right from the start. How the borrower purchased the property, what were the circumstances? Maybe it was a short sale or a wholesale deal or something like that. It'll explain that. It'll go over the appraisal subject to and the as-is values and the ARVs. You can take a look at the appraisal. We have it on the site. We have the renovation budget on the site, so they can see line by line what kind of work is being done specific to the property and the costs involved. Any other special documents that might be, give insight into the project or the developer itself. We put it up there. Links to their website, whatever it is. And we do capital stacks, so how the funds are broken down as far as the purchase price, the renovations, the closing costs, things like that. So the monies that are being contributed by the borrower. We have risks and mitigants page. What makes this a good project? What are some of the things that are I wouldn't say risky, but maybe it's a higher ARV, but it's a very experienced developer, or the location, things like that, or it's a large down payment, things like that. So we really kind of spell out everything for our investors so that they can make an educated decision on whether they want to invest in this project, or whether it fits their criteria for their particular investment portfolio. So, and we also make ourselves available to both our borrowers and our investors. I get questions all the time from our investors when we post up a new project. If they have questions, they can email me, and I respond to those emails. Same with our borrowers. We really make it a point to be accessible and open to everybody, because there's nothing to hide. Again, if we don't think it's a good deal, we're not going to put our money into it. So I think that, again, going back to the pre-funding mechanism, we're willing to put our own money into the deal because we believe in this project, and I think that's a huge boost to our investors, that we're willing to do that. So again, there's nothing to hide. Any questions that weren't answered on a project page, ask. We'll answer. It's okay.
Absolutely. It's and most of them will be answered on the project page. But like you said, you guys are your customer service is excellent, and so any questions that anyone might have as an investor or borrower, anyone can submit questions anytime through patchofland.com. I actually think there may be a couple questions. So let me just share my screen and see if there are any. I thought I saw one in the chat room here in the incubator. John Chilton is actually asking, would Patch of Land consider investing in syndicated ownership of vacation resort accommodation properties?
That'd be more of a commercial deal. I don't think that would be something that we would entertain at this time. Mostly right now we're focused on 1 to 4 families is our bread and butter, if you will. We do some small mixed use properties, some small commercial, things like that. But for the bigger projects, not just yet. We are probably putting some programs in place and things in place so that we can offer a wider variety of projects or programs for different projects.
Excellent. Thank you, Doug. And so thank you for the question, John. I also saw you had another question. Will there be an eventual change in the Jobs Act where unaccredited investors might be able to invest? And the answer to that is yes. There's 2 other provisions that will soon allow for anyone, regardless of income, to invest in private equities. And so that will be coming soon. None of us are fortune tellers, unfortunately, so hopefully in the near future, maybe the end of this year, maybe next year, but we're hoping at the end of this year that there's going to be some new rules that allow for unaccredited investors, so that everyone can participate in this amazing new financing source. One other question I want to ask you, Doug, too, as well is, and Michael is probably a perfect example. So, as you tell the audience to answer this question, Michael might want to consider something too. What other partnerships is Patch of Land looking for? Do you have programs for real estate brokers or mortgage brokers? How can someone who is in the real estate industry who may not need a loan at the moment, how can they take their clients and leverage Patch of Land's financing network to help grow their own businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. We're actually putting out a program right now where we are working with brokers, mortgage brokers, real estate brokers across the country who have borrowers who need alternative financing. I was a mortgage originator for years on the conventional side, and occasionally I would have a borrower who would come to me who needed hard money, or some short-term financing, something that just didn't fit the box of, say, a Fannie Mae or Alt-A or stated income, whatever it was. So that's something that I'm very much aware of, and it's something that we're open to. We want to work with brokers out there, mortgage lenders who have a deal that they can't get funded. We want to be a source for them. Real estate brokers who have clients who, are either developers or they have a deal that they can't get the traditional funding. We're a source for them. So we want to be open and kind of we are getting the word out nationwide to become access to capital that typically can't be found. A lot of the local hard money guys that they have limited capital and they can only expend so much capital into either a specific project, an individual who might have several deals that he wants to get done. They just don't have the available capital. We have the available capital. So, we want to get the word out. In fact, we can work with these people and encourage them to reach out to us.
Excellent. And so if you are in the real estate industry and you're watching, one thing that could be an innovative way to kind of innovate your own brokerage firm is to consider your agents real estate crowdfunding consultants. I mean, in the future, I think there's an opportunity for agents to actually not have to wait at the end of the commission. I mean, if they learn marketing skills, if they learn consulting skills, the real estate brokers of today could become real estate crowdfunding consultants of tomorrow. That's just my own personal vision on that. But
I like that vision. I do like that vision.
Yeah, I think there's an innovative way to to implement that in the real estate industry if someone's innovative enough. Michael, you might just be that person.
Yeah, thanks. We'll see. I'll be the guinea pig, We'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. And so Michael, I guess we're running a little bit low on time, but of course we'll go over if there's more questions. And I just kind of want to ask you, now that you've done 2 deals, would you recommend this for other people to do? Are you going to continue to use patch of land or other sources of capital? And what is your vision for the future? Is your business going to expand because of this new movement in funding?
Yeah, definitely some great questions. So I definitely will be working with patch of land as long as they'll have me, of course, and humbly be very grateful all the way through. It's been a great experience, and again, I'm very impressed with the level of organization, communication from their side to me, and just getting everything done as efficiently as they are able to do it. I mean, I'm really impressed. The next best thing to that has been my personal relationships with people, hard money lenders, on a kind of a one-off basis. The people that I started working with and still work with, where it's like, hey, Joe, I need $200,000. It's a phone call. I mean, I need $200,000 because I've got this property coming up to auction, in 2 days. Can you just make it available? Short of that, I've only got a handful of them, and their funding is very limited, obviously. So, short of that, and that took years to build that kind of credibility with them, patch of land is definitely there. I mean, I'll be working with them, like I said, as long as I'm able. And the other thing I would like to say, for the developers, for the guys and gals that are in my line of work, my shoes, great company to work with. Again, I highly recommend them. And for the investor that wants to put money with patch of land, I have to tell you, and I think I mentioned earlier when we started, I do a little bit of a real estate investor training, and that kind of just everything over the years built up to kind of what I'm doing now. But there are people that want to get in the business, and I created this 12-part, basically learn one thing every month for 12 months. Okay, and we start at the beginning with wholesales, and we end with being a hard money lender. Okay, so if I was to take you from beginning, nothing, and you're actually going to stick with me for 12 months, let me coach you through for an entire year. I'm going to teach you every aspect of real estate that I know. You end at being a hard money lender, right, where you're getting 8, 10, 12, 15% interest, and you're not doing anything. You're giving money to guys like me who are out there spending money and time and effort. But here, patch of land has kind of cut that entire learning curve, down to nothing, because now all of a sudden you can just hand them the money and skip the 12-month learning curve. And hey, you're getting, I mean, in the example you put on my property, I think it was showing a 12% return. Where do you get that? I mean, and you don't need, again, you don't need $500,000. You don't need 200,000. You start with whatever the minimum is, which I believe is $5,000. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's what the minimum is. So, hey, throw it in there, see what happens. And, you're in real estate without having to get your hands dirty, without having to wonder, is the property going to sell? Is it going to, the construction's going to get delayed or not? It happens almost every time. I mean, there are always issues, again, in my position as a developer, all kinds of issues, permitting issues, weather issues. I'm in Chicago, so I mean, when we have a bad winter, we can't do exterior work on a property. Well, do you want to be that person? Maybe some of us do. I do. I enjoy it, but for the people that want to invest to get a good return, I think it's again really just a very impressive business model that they have. And again, like I said, that's where you end up with me if I'm going to teach you anything about real estate investing. I'm going to tell you, start loaning your money out. You don't have to do anything. Let everybody else run around, find the deals, bring the contractors, get them sold, drive themselves crazy, not sleep at night, and then you just make sure that you get paid at the end of it. I mean, it's the best thing you could ever want. So yeah, it's kind of like 2 thumbs up for both the investor, hands-on investor, and the cash money investors. I love it. Really, really great to be working with you guys.
Absolutely, Michael. That is excellent, and you know, Doug and I can attest your marketing is amazing. We were actually admiring some of your marketing, an email that we received from your list, and I'm sure you know I'm going to introduce you to Adapia, the marketing director of Patch of Land. I mean, I'm sure we'd love to collaborate with you on your 12-step program, especially at the hard money. You know, replace hard money with Patch of Land. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
So good stuff. So this is great. And so we'll just say a few last words. Let me just do one quick look here. Looks like we don't have particular questions here. So I think we're good on the questions. So I'm going to give you both the last word. And so let's start with Michael. We'll give you the last word, and then we'll go to Doug.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time and having me on the call. It really means a lot to me. I appreciate the trust in you know, doing business together. It's been a very nice and pleasant experience so far. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more business with you guys, and just very grateful to have you, be a part of it and be a part of what you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. It was an honor to meet you this past week and chat with you on a couple of occasions, and I wish you the best of luck. You're doing big things, so continue building the communities in Chicago. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And Doug, a last word for you as well.
Well, I want to say thanks to both of you for this time. Michael's, you know, I know we've talked numerous times over the past year. And so it's nice to finally get to see a face to a name.
Yeah.
You know, here at Patch, it really is about building relationships, and this is just a part of it. But you know, we're big about everyone here at Patch of Land getting to know our borrowers, getting them to you know us. And that also goes to our investors. You know, we get to know our investors, and there's like a little triangle going on. Our investors get to know the borrowers as well. So it is about, you know, building relationships and building communities. I mean, that's the big part of Patch of Land is we're in this to build communities, and Chicago is definitely an area that we want to continue to invest in with developers like Michael and you know, like him all around the country. There's a lot of opportunities there, and you know, we're again pulling back that curtain of transparency and really trying to make it available to as many people as we can around the country, and you know, continue to build relationships. So yeah, that's a little bit about what Patch is all about.
Excellent, Doug, and always a pleasure. I mean, you're a very technical guy. You're down to earth, and you really embody the mission and vision of Patch. So it's always a pleasure to really have you on the show. So thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Manolis. It was a pleasure.
You got it. So, okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. For the audience, thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, please reach out to the Patch of Land website. There's multiple ways you can interact with Patch of Land to get all your questions asked and answered. They have a wonderful frequently asked questions section. And so please go to patchofland.com. You can get all that information there. And again, we just all want to thank you. This has been a presentation by Patch of Land, their monthly real estate crowdfunding webinar. And I wish you all a wonderful evening. Thank you very much, everyone.